So, welcome to the panel. Speedrunning the first official My Little Pony game. Me and Coaster have been talking about doing this panel for a while. Ever since we found out we were both going to HarmonyCon, we wanted to do something. It's really nice to get to talk about this scene with a big group of people and really get the game out there, because it is actually, surprisingly enough, a very fun speed game.
All right. So some of you might be thinking, what is speedrunning? So speedrunning at its core is just taking a game and just playing through it as fast as you can, from start to finish. People will spend lots of time trying to figure out the fastest way to do things. They'll time their runs out and they'll compete on the leaderboard for the fastest times. So speedrunning has been a thing that's been going on for a very long time, actually. You could say that speedrunning's been around as long as video games have, because anyone trying to play a video game quickly, you could technically call that a speedrun. The first people to really call themselves speedrunners were actually people in the 90s recording Mario 64 runs on VHS, and that was how they recorded them at the time.
A lot of people, if you're familiar with speedrunning, you're probably familiar with like Mario 64, which is infamous for its like backwards long jump. A lot of people don't know what speedrunning even is, know about the backwards long jump. There's Minecraft speedruns, like Dream picked up majorly in popularity for a while.
Dream is not a great speedrunner.
Not his fault though.
But he's popular. He's popular. Yeah. So most of you probably know who that is. But yeah, pretty much, if there's a game out there, there's probably a speedrun category.
Yeah, speedrunners will literally play any game. And that is, of course, no exception for My Little Pony games. We lied to you in the panel title. This is not actually the first MLP game that Hasbro's put out. Most of the ones they have are bad. So there was some console and PC games in the G3 era, which you can imagine how that works out. We would have loved to see some proper games with G4, but all I've ever really got were a few Flash and mobile games. But when Generation 5 rolled around, I'm not supposed to talk about that yet. I'm already screwing up. So anyway, regardless of these games just being bad, they still developed speedrunning communities, as most games do.
I think it's Dr. Goose, yeah.
We don't need a corner, it's fine.
There's a few names down there, but...
Yeah. But most of these games had pretty small communities. Like, this is the entire leaderboard for all four of them. So what we needed is a good, proper MLP game that people actually want to play. Luckily, with G5, Hasbro decided to try console games again, and they gave us Maretime Bay Adventure.
So for those of you who haven't actually heard of this game, which there was this actually surprising number of people who didn't raise their hands. Most of you do, but so this is a game that released on Windows, Switch. You can't really see it because I made terrible choices in this presentation.
We seem to have a screen.
Yeah, it's on PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, Windows, pretty much all the major platforms for gaming, which is big. This was the first like post G4 console game, and a little guy you might have heard of named DJ Thed actually was a big part of this game. He made a lot of the animations. A lot of people say that he made the models. That's a little bit of a misconception. He did some of the animation for some of the cutscenes. He did all of Sunny's animation. But it's essentially like a collectathon, and we're actually going to show like the official trailer for this game to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what the game itself is meant to be.
But another cool thing about DJ Thed, aside from being a brony and being a game developer, he's actually done speedrunning himself. So as you can imagine, he's pretty supportive of the speedrunning community, and speedrunners always love supportive developers.
Yeah, here's a little trailer of the game.
Here's the trailer.
It's very obvious that this game was marketed towards kids.
Yeah.
But like it's a cute little game, you know. You run around as Sunny Star Scout, running around Maretime Bay, collecting things, solving problems, learning new powers. Wow.
Woo.
Doesn't this look like riveting gameplay to you guys?
It really is.
Like better than Breath of the Wild, I know.
Really?
I like this part, jiggling.
Nice.
For Maretime Day, meet all of Sunny's friends. Paige, Sid, Izzy, and Sid. Amazing mini-games to play with your friends.
Got some fun mini games in there. Always a good time.
A Maretime Day adventure.
So the funny thing about that is 90% of what's shown in that trailer is not in the speedrun. We skipped most
Yeah.
of it.
Nice.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah.
So right as soon as this game came out, first of all, some people saw the game got announced and they were like, all right, we need to speedrun this. Other people maybe they got it on release day and were very disappointed to find out their $40 got them 2 hours of gameplay and wanted to find something else to do with the game. So people started speedrunning it, and as soon as the game came out, people immediately got to work trying to find the best route to go through the game, just trying to find the best path to take to go through the game as fast as possible, which is something that speedrunners call routing. So with the initial routes when the game first came out, put the run at around 36 minutes. If you do everything properly. This game's pretty linear, so there wasn't a whole lot of work to do there. Most of the routing in this game was just finding the best lines to take to cut out walking speed.
There's literally a character named Shimmerwing that's like a butterfly. Actually, 90% of the people who speedrun this game don't even know the name.
Yeah. Set in a trailer cutscene wheel skip.
Yeah, it's a butterfly that literally, if you take more than a few seconds to get to your next goal, this butterfly will say, "You're being too slow. We're leading you to your next goal." So it literally takes you straight for the end of the game. It's nearly impossible to get lost in this game.
But anyway, a big part of those 36 minutes were the mini games. So there's 5 mini games that you have to play in this game, and all of them are auto scrollers, and they take about 2 minutes. So that's 10 minutes out of 36 right there. In fact, for a lot of the mini games, the optimal strategy is to put down your controller and do nothing for 2 minutes, because playing them actually gives you extra time that you have to spend in the mini game. If only there was a way to get around them. Maybe there is, because a runner named Ash found this.
This is the start of the mini game. This is like the tutorial they show you.
Yep,
And the
that's it.
minigame's
We beat
over.
it. We beat the mini game.
You did it.
Woo!
Nice.
What just happened there? So this is Ash Skip, as discovered by Ash212. This was discovered very quickly after the game came out, and basically what we're doing here is you just tap B periodically, and that skips the mini game. Why does that happen? It's because the programmers of this game are maybe not the best, as you might have figured out. But what happens is, so the game keeps track of what state the mini game's in. There's 3 states. There's the state where you're in the tutorial screen, the state where you're actually playing the mini game, and then there's the result screen state. So normally when the tutorial screen's up, you hold B for a few seconds, and that tells the game to advance the state, and it goes to the playing the game state. All well and good. So here's a thing they did. I have no idea why, but if you wait for at least 5 seconds on the tutorial screen, it switches to only having to hold B for about 300 milliseconds instead of 3 seconds. I don't know why they did that.
I'll tell you why. It's for debugging.
But that enables us to do something interesting. See, when the state changes, there's a delay before the tutorial screen actually goes away,
And the skip thing is
Yes.
still up.
During that time, you can actually skip. You can actually close the tutorial screen a second time, which sends the signal again to advance the state. Now, since the game's already in the playing the minigame state, it advances to the result screen state, which causes the result screen to come up. If that explanation was sounded too confusing and convoluted, don't worry. That is the most technical this panel gets. So at the time, we had no understanding of these mechanics whatsoever. We just knew that
you pressed a button in a certain like rhythm and it skipped the mini game.
Yeah.
I had a theory
knew
that
why.
it worked like this, but
kinda
we didn't find out that this is how it actually worked until much later.
So there were some very early speedruns that got completed on launch day, May 27th. Unfortunately, we weren't actually able to find record of those. The speedrun.com page didn't exist until the next day, which is May 28th. When it came up, the first person to submit a run was none other than Mr. Someone with a 2609, taking the world record by default because there was no other runs. And that skipped. Hold on.
Oh, you good? Oh,
there
yeah.
we go. I had to click on the...
So I was in a call with my friend at the time. We were very excited. You can hear my mic clip. We were very happy about this.
Now, of course, there's a lot we can do from here, and just about an hour later, he upgraded to a 2527.
I know this seems like it's focused a lot on me. Trust me, I fell off real fast. Some people are crazy at this game.
Yeah. So, but what is a speedrun without competition? You can't just have one runner. So in comes our next runner. If it lets me go to the next slide.
Oh, it's
I'm not
playing
clicking
the...
on it. I wasn't clicking on the button. Okay. And Ash212, the person who just discovered Ash Skip, a few hours later, said a 2510. So at this point, all anyone's really doing is we just we know what we need to do, and we just need to everyone's just scrambling to get the fastest run they can with the least amount of mistakes to get the fastest time.
The time there does say 24:59. The problem is that they thought that there was debate as to when the run should end. We ultimately decided that it was when that last cutscene was fully skipped. So they actually ended up losing a few seconds there. They waited around like 5 seconds before actually skipping the minigame. So they could have gotten a little bit better of a time there.
But, you know, Mr. Someone was like, hey, that's my world record. So a few hours later, he said 2450.
I took it back.
Yep.
It's mine.
Complete with a timer actually being stopped at the correct time. There's your 2450.
So a fun little thing about this game, actually, when we first started running it, at the end of that cutscene, Izzy smacks Sprout with a billboard, and he dies. That's not true. He doesn't actually die. But Izzy smacks him with a billboard, and I was really hoping that we would stop the time at the billboard. But since Ash Skip was discovered, the billboard thing never happens. So
Very
we unfortunately couldn't have billboard percent.
But anyway,
Oh, no, you can't just say don't skip that one, and then you go. That's billboard percent.
There you go.
So anyway, there's a problem with some of these runs. They're too darn slow. We have Ash Skip, but that's really it. We need to find some more interesting things to do. So people were doing some glitch hunting, and this was the first interesting discovery that someone made, which is what we call the depth plane warp. Look at that. Ooh. So we had already known that you could get out of bounds by jumping on the flowers in weird ways, but most of the time you just fall in a void forever. This flower was special because this triggered some kind of depth plane, and that warped us to the end of this part of the map.
Except that's not how it actually works. Unfortunately, this actually doesn't do anything for the speedrun. I'll let Coaster explain it.
The person who was Love Kiss here, the person who was hunting for glitches, made a big mistake here, and that is they were hunting for glitches on a completed file, which is it doesn't seem like it'd be a problem, but there's often small differences between having a completed file and actually playing through the run that can introduce some problems, and this was one of them. What we pretty quickly found out here is that hitting the depth plane doesn't warp you to the end of the level. It only just warps you to the last loading zone you came in from, which, because he was on a completed file, he came in from the other side. But in a actual run, it would just send you back to the beginning of this room, which would obviously not be ideal.
Yeah, we thought that there might be some practical use for this, but we still haven't found anything for it to do anything, and I don't think we ever will, unfortunately.
Well, if you could get the game to think that you were somewhere farther ahead of where you are, I've seen that happen in runs of various games.
There's been a lot of experimentation. But
we're looking for the wrong warp. It probably doesn't exist. That's all I can say about it.
See,
We'll talk about that a little later.
Who told you that, and why would you believe that? It just means you haven't looked far enough. Like, how many ledges took 20 years to find?
We'll talk a little bit about that later.
We're looking. Anyway, while this was going on, some more runners were jumping in. This is Artemis. She came out of nowhere with a 24:33, about 20 seconds ahead of the previous world record. This was already a step above what was going on before. So at this point, just 2 days after the game came out, we were already starting to attract some perhaps a bit more impressive speedrunning talent.
Artemis was probably the first person to jump into the scene that was actually a speedrunner. They actually played this game for like a big speedrunning event that happened a few months ago, like an online Twitch like speedrunning thing. So.
Here's in from the glitch hunting department. This one's actually useful. This was discovered by Coco Doggo. It's Fast Pumpkin.
So at this point, you have to collect a certain number of pumpkins, but normally you have to jump.
Normally what you would do is you go up these stairs and you go around, but you can do this instead. Yep.
You just kind of jump up there, and it works.
Yep.
It is a little bit hard to execute, but...
And that saved a whopping 2 to 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Whoa, which sounds like nothing, but at top level, stuff like this can make or break your speedrun. Not that we were quite up there yet. So around this time is when I started to get really serious about people are getting the world record. I want to get the world record, you know. And a few hours later, guess what? 24:18, which was immediately met with wow, that's an amazing run. How did you do that? Little did I know, it wasn't the world record. So there was a run stuck in verification, so I couldn't see it on the leaderboard. And this was the 23:53 by Synced Loop that had already happened before I completed my run. This was an unprecedented time. Like, this was a level beyond anything that we had ever seen. Synced Loop just came out of nowhere with no prior speedrunning experience and just decided, hey, I'm just gonna execute everything beautifully and just release an amazing, just decimate the speedrun. And then after I do that, I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna dip out. He left. He never even joined the Discord. He just dropped the run and refused to elaborate and left. So we knew we were gonna need some new tech to beat this. Glitch hunting's still hard at work. I made a discovery of fast loads. So it's possible to get the game into a state where your loads are about twice as fast.
So on the right there, you saw how fast that load screen went by. It was only about 3 seconds, whereas with the slow loads, it takes about 6 seconds, which is weird. This is all on the same device. This isn't on a different computer, a different console, or anything.
So you're probably wondering, how do you get into this state? You play the Sprout minigame at the end of the game.
Now, originally we thought that the way that this worked was you had to do an entire run. You had to play through the game once in order to get your load times to be reduced, because you would think that doing that would mean the game has all of the assets like cached, like stored. But for some reason, it's just the minigame at the end of the game.
You can boot the game up and go into the minigame menu and play the Sprout minigame, and you have fast loads until you close the game again.
If you get to the end of the game but don't enter that Sprout minigame and exit and go back in, you will still have slow loads. We still have no clue why this works. It doesn't make any sense.
Because the programmer screwed up.
Well, yeah, most likely. But anyways.
I don't know.
You know, it sounds like a deadlock issue.
Anyway, that was good to save some time. In fact, the slower, since that about halves your load time, the slower your computer, the faster your time gain would be from this. So how about something that's actually within the game? Well, Lovekiss discovered that you can get up to these roofs with this red flower. Normally you would use that yellow flower on the left, and that's the intended way to get up here. But he noticed that you could actually do it like this. Now, it doesn't seem like it helps a lot, and it kind of doesn't. In the near the end of the game, you start on the right side of this, and you have to go to the left to get up to activate a cutscene. And doing it that way saves a couple seconds because you don't have to walk all the way over to the flower. But that's all that did for now. Lovekiss was just at this point, he was just like, I'm gonna find as many glitches as I can, and he found several things. He found a way to turn around with the rollerblades faster. So this is what it looks like when you turn around normally, but he found that you can actually take the rollerblades off before you turn around, and that makes you turn around much faster.
Now, these rollerblades are a thing that you get at a certain point in the game, and you can equip them or unequip them with the Y button or the left button on your controller, depending on what you have. And they just make you move faster. But apparently, turning around without the rollerblades is faster than turning around with them.
Yeah. One of the many nuances between rollerblade and non-rollerblade movement that we had to figure out at the time. He also discovered another interesting with the rollerblades, speed conservation. So obviously you can go a lot faster with the rollerblades than you can just by running. But what he noticed is that if you get up to full speed with the rollerblades, you can take them off and constantly jump and preserve your speed for as long as you could jump in a straight line. Turning in midair slows you down, but if you're in midair in a straight line, you don't lose any speed. So constantly jumping would preserve your speed. Now there wasn't any useful use for this because at the time, because well, why not just use the rollerblades? You know, that would come into play later though. In terms of stuff that's actually useful right now, he also discovered bag skip.
So at this point in the game, a bunny has stolen Sunny's bag and runs across this bridge and leaves this bag over here. So Sunny has to walk over this bridge, grab this bag, come over, and then continue the game. Or we can just do this.
Yep.
So normally if you try to leave that way without getting the bag, Sunny stops and says, "My bag, I need to go get it." And she turns around.
But doing that, we could just jump over, we could use that conveniently placed flower to jump over the trigger that activates that and get to the load zone faster, which saved about 7 seconds. And all these sound like really small time saves, but all these put together can add up to quite a significant margin of time in a speed run.
If you're able to do all of them. Some of them are trickier than others.
So there was a lot of conjecture about this time about people having different load times depending on how fast their PC was. Basically, if you had a faster PC, you had an advantage because you had slower load, or faster load, sorry. And that's not how it should be. Ebunix released on May 30th an auto splitter. What that can do is, first of all, it can start and stop the time automatically, so you always have your exact time down to 1 centisecond, which is 1/100th of a second.
You guys can stop looking at the screen. There's not
no
actually anything
for
up
this.
there for this. It's mostly technical mumbo jumbo.
More importantly, that this auto splitter featured load time removal. What that means is whenever you're on a load screen, it will pause the timer, thereby just removing load screens from the game. And because of that, now when we're using time with no loads, people with faster PCs don't have an advantage because the load times don't matter because they get removed. So this made the run much more fair. Anyone with any PC really can play and stay competitive because they don't need to worry about how fast their loads are. That does also kind of make fast loads moot. Most runners would still do it just to get their real time a bit higher, but nobody cared about real time after this came out.
We just wanted to do more runs.
Yeah. So Optic pretty quickly adopted this. This is a new runner, Optic Rainfall, and they got a 2309 LRT.
Previously, they were kind of stuck in a rut because they were doing really good, but they had a lower end PC at the time, and so the load times being part of that time really screwed them over. So once that was gone, they were able to actually compete.
Yep. And so this sounds like a huge improvement. Yeah, he was very happy to get the world record, as you can hear.
We did it! We got it! Yes.
We love Optic. He has
Optic.
he has some
Optic's
great pop-offs.
So this sounds like a huge improvement over the previous run. That's because this is the LRT. So the real time for this run was a 23:46, which is about 7 seconds faster than the previous world record by Sync Loop. But now everyone's using LRT, so this is the time we care about, the 23:09 with no loads. Okay, so new stuff from the glitch hunting mill. We've got Bunny Skip, also discovered by Coco Doggo, and this was a big deal. Like, see, this was a pretty good time at the time. That wouldn't last for long, because Coco Doggo found you could do this.
Actually, can you pause it real quick?
Yeah.
So for context, there's these band of bunnies that are stationed at the end of this street that block you off from one of the later points in the game for about half the game, I'd say.
You have to do about, you can get to this area pretty early on, but you have to do about half the game before that roadblock gets removed.
Then Coco discovered this. So using the red flower skip from before.
Yep, building on top of that, he noticed that, so normally you would be up here, there's a yellow flower right down here, right? That would have to be open for you to, it starts closed, and when you open it, then it's just open forever on your file. That would have to be open to get up here normally, but because we get up here in an unintended way, we can do it with the flower closed. Now here's the thing about that flower and hitboxes in this game. Hitboxes in this game are really stupid tall for no reason. So that the red flower, or the yellow flower is like really tiny down there. Its hitbox is about 10 times taller than its visual model.
So watch this.
So we can jump on it and use that to get past the load zone, to get past the roadblocks.
And
there
that
we go.
skips half the game.
Yes. That saves about 10 to 11 minutes. So so a runner by the name of Ponerpuff very quickly was the first one to use this in a run. They saw this go up and they were like, all right, I need to get a run out really fast. And they released a 1325 with the most interesting stream layout I've ever seen.
I don't think they like My Little Pony very much.
I'm not sure. Anyway, a 1325. So basically, throw all the old times out the window, which is a completely new game now. And at this time, everyone is about to start scrambling to get their PBs updated with Bunny Skip, and to get the fastest time they could using that. So here's the thing about doing Bunny Skip. You can't do it immediately once you get to that area of the game. You need to, the red flower isn't there at the start, and you need to play about 2 minutes of the game before the red flower appears and you get up there. Like 2 minutes in a 13-minute run is a lot of time. So people wanted to see if there was a way to get up there without needing the red flower. So someone by the name of Spoop pretty quickly had a theory on this, and that was to use these shops to jump up there. And the video's trolling me. Shout out to the Sheraton Wi-Fi. So it looks like this jump is easy to make, right? Unfortunately, it's impossible. Why is that?
Here we meet the villain of this run.
It all comes down to the hitboxes again. You see this pony? His hitbox, his giant honking hitbox is in the way. The top of his model is here. The top of his hitbox is all the way up here. So his giant hitbox is in the way of us making this jump, and so we can't actually get past. No matter how hard you try, you're not getting past here. It's impossible. So that was disappointing. There was another theory on how this might be possible to get up there without the red flower, and this was from someone named The Baronade, and they posted this video. And there we go. We're up there, right?
So
and that was very promising. We did it. There was a problem with this.
So
yeah,
I was in a call with another runner at the time, and we saw this at the same time, and we started losing our minds. We're like, guys, we found the red flower skip. Baronade found the red flower skip.
Woo.
We quickly discovered that wasn't actually the case. So this video is kind of deceiving.
You see, the Baronade made the same mistake as Lovekiss did earlier with Death's Plane Warp. He was glitch hunting on a completed file. The reason this jump works is because it again comes down to the hitboxes. So their hitboxes are shorter than most because there's a roof above them, but it goes all the way up to the top of the roof. So you need to stand on this hitbox to jump all the way up here. Here's the problem. These NPCs aren't here until you beat the game. So in a run, this jump's impossible. There's no hitbox here to jump off of.
There
because
are
the
some
ponies aren't there.
NPCs there, but they're slightly to the left, so their hitboxes don't help at all, unfortunately.
Very sad. Regardless, just having, even if you had to play for 2 minutes of this part of the map, just having a bunny skip is already a monumental improvement, and we need to get some people pushing that time down. So here's Optic Rainfall coming back with a 13:15. This is all on the same day. We're still on May 30th. There's a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah,
on
this day was crazy.
Crazy day. So I was working to get my PB down, and I, by complete accident, found Fast Flower. So normally you have to jump on these yellow flowers to activate them, or to jump on them after you activate them. I noticed you can just do that. So what happened there? I literally just walked into it. And I found that because I forgot to press the jump button because I am a master speedrunner. So it turns out this isn't as big a deal as it seems. There's only actually 2 flowers in the game you can do this on. Both are used in the run. And the reason that works is because those 2 flowers are closer to the ground than the other flowers are. So you can actually just walk up onto the hitbox instead of having to jump. That saves just a couple seconds because you don't have to wait for Sunny to jump all the way up and fall back down onto the flower. So just another little optimization. Optic used this along with better execution to upgrade to a 1309 with one of the best celebrations I've ever heard.
And we did it! Oh my god! No way! No way! 1309! Sub 1310! No way!
We stand
Oh my
Optic in
God.
this community. He's
Yes.
great.
Oh my
Shout out
god!
to Optic. So that was
God!
So that was pretty fast run already. We're getting but just as much as runners are pushing the current tech as far as it can go, more tech is coming in to force them to throw out all the attempts they've done and try again with our new strats. Here's another one that Optic Rainfall discovered shortly after this. This is long stall jump. This is something you do pretty much right at the end of the game, and so you need to get onto the roofs to activate a cutscene, and we just do that. Now, first of all, hold up. I said that jump was impossible earlier, and in the daytime version of this map, it is. But notice in the nighttime version, there's actually no pony here, so there's nothing stopping you from making this jump.
Paint Shop has left us alone. That's his name, by the way. We hate Paint Shop.
Yes. Paint Shop is cringe.
Paint Shop is gone.
worst pony. So here's what the problem with this is. This skip is incredibly difficult to perform. It looks easy, but there's like all of these ponies in this crowd have giant hitboxes that are invisible. There's a minefield of invisible hitboxes you have to navigate. The jump from the right stall to the left is a lot tighter than it looks, and this only saves you 3 seconds at the very end of the game.
I want to say that this is probably, to this day, the hardest thing to implement in a run. And it saves 3 seconds. So.
And a lot of that is just because it's all the way at the end of the run. If you're on PB pace, do you want to get your guaranteed PB, or do you want to risk it all to save an extra 3 seconds?
You risk it all, of course.
Most people don't.
Yeah.
Because getting a world record is a big deal, but Optic is a mad lad.
Optic
Anyways.
is a mad lad. No Optic yet though. So Ebunix, the same person who made the auto splitter, was hard at work messing with the game, decompiling it, doing all sorts of fun stuff with that. And they made a mod that lets you see the hitboxes in the game. It also gives you free cam. This was great to help look for new glitches. And also to help people visualize where invisible hitboxes are for things we need to navigate that.
So see that pony on the right?
Yep.
That's how tall their hitboxes
that's what their
are. That
hitboxes
red bar,
look like.
you cannot enter that space.
Whoops.
That's why Paint Shop is evil.
I changed the slide. Yes. Anyway, using okay, not that. Back to that in a minute. Ponerpuff discovered a little improvement to ash skip here. You see. So normal ash skip is you hit your B button and you're on the results screen and there you go. You skip the minigame. But you can save a few extra seconds by doing this instead. So we do our ash skip. And then we hit exit. Now why that works is as soon as you're on that screen, the game is already in the results screen state, but it takes a bit to actually pop up the results screen. But you can exit the minigame during that time. Because you've exited in that state, all the game looks for is that if you're exiting and it was on that state, then it assumes you've completed the minigame. So you don't even have to look at the results screen now, so that saves a couple extra seconds. This did cause a minor weird thing where if the minigame has a cutscene after it, the cutscene doesn't play for reasons unknown. But that didn't really matter, we're skipping them anyway. It's not like it's a speedrun, we're not here for the story.
So anyway, the story is just about racism, if any of you are concerned about that. So,
yep, classic MLP trope. Here's a glitch that Ebunix discovered using the hitbox viewer mod. There's this little race thing that you have to do in this part of the map. This is after bunny skip.
These mini games, these race mini games, don't actually have a they don't have a tutorial screen, so we can't actually skip them like we can the others.
They're not. Like, they're kind of minigames, but they're not technically considered to be minigames. But he noticed that since you get rollerblades in this minigame, he noticed you can jump over and do that. And we can ride along this wall. There's a little ledge there, and you can jump over it and break out of the... Basically, what you've just done is broken out of the little sandbox for the minigame thing you're playing. I did forget to mention, since bunny skip, skip's getting the rollerblades. So normally we don't have the rollerblades at all at this point. But activating this minigame temporarily gives them to you. The idea here is, so that clock in the top right corner, when that runs out, you fail the minigame and you get sent back to the beginning. But you can still do a lot of the things you have to do after that. So the idea is do those things fast when you have the rollerblades, and then get teleported back, and then just finish it normally and save time because you got some of those things out of the way while you had faster movement. However, Artemis very quickly discovered an even faster way to do this that doesn't require the rollerblades, which meant we didn't have to go into that minigame at all. And it's a lot harder. And that is using the ledge on this little side wall. And you ride all the way down. And there you go. The race minigame bypassed entirely.
There were a lot of people discussing whether or not it would be faster to still do the minigame and get out of it there, because you would have the rollerblades for parts of the run to do them faster. Mm-hmm. But ultimately, it was shown that this way is much faster.
Mm-hmm. Ponerpuff, master of seeing a new glitch go out and getting a run out as fast as possible, use this to get a 12:54, making it the first sub-13 run.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, and then the race was on yet again to take the current tech and optimize it. Mr. Someone comes back.
Wasn't good enough.
Yep. With a 12:54.74. Look at the difference.
I beat them by, how much was it? How much was their time?
That's 5 centiseconds.
Yeah.
Actually, sorry, 6 centiseconds.
So
I can do math.
Yeah, I definitely capitalized on using that new technique and, you know, doing so much better than them. A whole 6 centiseconds faster.
Woo! Yeah. Faster's faster. Of course, both these runs were just put out very quickly, so they had they were far from optimized. So on was the race to get it as low as possible. Partner Puff gets the 1244. And while he's doing this, he actually discovers another little time save that saves a couple seconds. And so there's this. So when you're at the end of the game here, basically there's a cutscene you need to activate. That circle, when you touch it, it activates the cutscene, and you also incidentally grab this pinata thing. Here's the thing: if you stand on the very edge, you don't grab the pinata, and doing that causes you to grab it when you come back. And that actually cancels a little cutscene that would have played there that loses a couple seconds.
There's like a success state that this game puts you in after you do like a big event, and it keeps you from moving for just like 2 seconds maybe. But doing this allows you to freely move instead of having to wait for those 2 seconds. So again, every little save helps.
Yes. So Partner Puff used that along with better movement to upgrade to a 1223. But here's the thing: there was something special about this world record, and no one realized it at the time. This would be the last world record to be held by someone other than one of 2 people that we're about to see. Remember Syncloop? He came in, he got the world record, and he vanished. He's back, and he's actually in the Discord server this time, and he got a 1215, which was a once again a step above anything people had seen before. And this time he's back, and he wants to keep the world record.
Just so you know, we have 14 minutes.
You gotta speed run it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll speed up. So Optic Rainfall was looking for ways to beat this, because Optic Rainfall wants the world record too. And by complete accident, while doing runs, he did this.
Whoa, what?
Normally...
What? What was that?
Normally, you would have to take out both those carrots individually.
What was that?
But for some reason, during this run, they both came out. So as it turns out, there's a very small... No, I won't... Don't play the video. There's a very small area where the hitboxes for those overlap, and you can activate both of those at the same time. It's really precise, and it's pretty hard to get consistently. But that's just one of the many tasks you got to do if you want to get the top time. Optic was able to use this to get a 12:15:36. Once again, 2 centiseconds this time above Syncloop's 12:15:38.
Yeah, this run got very, very tight.
Yeah.
The competition got very tight around this
I'm
time.
gonna skip some of these reactions because we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So the race was on. Syncloop wants the world record, and Optic Rainfall wants the world record, and neither of them are willing to take no for an answer. And thus, this was the beginning of this game's greatest rivalry. And nobody at the time, I don't think even them, knew what lengths they were willing to go to try to keep this world record. So Syncloop takes it back with a 12:10. This is on the next day. Then upgrades it to a 12:07 a few hours later. Actually, sorry, 2 days later. I know how this goes. And Optic Rainfall one-ups him with the 12:06. And so every time this happens, we're getting like one little imperfection just removed from the world record. And over time, like it gets slightly better and better and better until it's at a state where it's very optimized, and you have to have a near perfect run to have a chance, to stand any chance. So Syncloop comes back 2 seconds off with a 12:04. And then here's the thing. A couple days later, there was a bit of a talk about how far we could go with the current tech at this time, because this was getting very optimized. People were like, can we do 12? Can we do sub 12 with this? Can we? Some people said yes, some people said no. Syncloop didn't think so. And then 2 days later, he did it anyway, and got an 11:58. Just with and so the execution of everything was just absolutely perfect at this point. And Optic was going to have a hard time beating this. Luckily, Optic had a few tricks up their sleeve in terms of new glitches being discovered. This is slope boost. Remember speed conservation? How you can, if you have higher than running speed, you can keep it if you jump. But there's no way to get higher running speed without the rollerblades. As it turns out, there is a way to get faster than that, and it's by falling. So check this out.
So you see how much quicker the one on the left is? It's not by a crazy amount, but when you have played this game as much as any of us have, it is very noticeable.
And here's the thing, it doesn't work in just that one spot. Anytime you can move to a lower height than where you currently are, you can gain height by falling into that, and the longer you fall, the more height you gain.
Funnily enough,
you can hold it as long as you can go in a straight line.
Funnily enough, that instance of it is probably the most the most obvious use of it. It's not useful at all, though.
Yeah, we can't use that in the run because there's some stuff down to the left here that we need to pick up that prevents us from being able to do that.
The amount of speed you gain there is much more noticeable than anywhere that's actually used in the run.
Mm-hmm. But still, like, that adds up over time if you do that in a lot of places in the run. Before Optic Rainfall could do anything with that, Sync Loop was like, hey, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna upgrade to an 1155. And that's about, like, everywhere in the game that you can do slope boost gives you about 3 seconds of improvement. So this was about on par execution-wise with the previous world record, just with the new stuff. Optic Rainfall, quite a bit later, about half a month, as we go from June 25th to July 16th. This has slowed down dramatically as we get closer and closer to the edge of what we can do. With current tech, it gets harder and harder to get the next run, which means it takes longer for each new run to come out. And they're getting starting to play a whole lot of this game to get there. Like, you see this little number right here? It's pretty hard to see because we don't have a screen, but this is the amount of tries they've done to get this world record. That is 3,800 attempts.
Only that many?
Yeah, to get this.
Oh, don't worry, it raises a lot.
Yep.
Good.
Of course, Sync Loop was undeterred, and the next day just sets an 1151, just casual 3-second improvement.
Optic can't catch a break.
Yep. Basically, Optic would train and get the run, and then Sync Loop will come in the next day and be like, all right, here, go try again.
I love both of these guys, but Optic really feels kind of like the anime protagonist in this scenario.
Here's the thing. You see this 1151? That stood for a while, and it was going to be hard to beat, unless we discover a big glitch. Remember how we were trying to get up to the roofs without the red flower? Remember how I said this jump was impossible? Well, it turns out it's not that impossible. There you go. So what we need to do to get up there is you have to go around the very edge of this guy's hitbox, right? Here's the thing. This is a bigger distance than you should be able to jump. There's several factors that we need to make this work. First of all, we need to have the maximum possible speed we can, which means we have to run up in this very small space to get to full speed. We need to hit pretty much a very precise point, and then we have to abuse the coyote physics to be able to jump late enough. So what coyote physics are, a lot of platformers have this, is basically you can run off a platform and then for a certain number of frames you can still jump even though you're not on the platform anymore. And they do this because it just makes it feel better to play the game, because you're not like, oh, I should have been able to jump there and I didn't. But here we can abuse that to make a jump that we shouldn't technically be able to cross. By doing that. Now this trick was brutal. Everyone in the community tried day in and day out, and they just couldn't get a good run with this because it's so hard to line up all of those to get this perfectly executed. Like, people at the time were averaging about 1 in 200 attempts getting past this.
To this day, like the top runners in this game, like I'd say like a majority of the people who still run this game, the best I'd probably say is like 1 in 10 maybe.
Yeah.
For like
1 in
anyone,
10.
even Optic and Synced Loop, it's not consistent. So, but at this point, the run's so tight that as soon as you screw it up once, you gotta reset.
Yep. And I mean, but like this is a big deal. You're unlike a long stall jump, everyone quickly adopted this because you are rewarded for getting that with nearly 2 minutes time save over the old route. And Sync Loop use that to set a 10-18, thereby destroying the sub 11 barrier and becoming the first member of the coveted sub 11 club. Reserved for only the best of the best runners.
It's for the most elite of gamers.
Yes.
We've got like we've got jackets.
Yeah.
We don't actually.
We have a
leather
secret
jackets.
club. We discovered the portal to Equestria. I can't tell you where it is unless you're in the club though.
Sorry guys.
Yeah.
It's price to pay. Get good.
Yep. So Optic very quickly brings it down to a 10-12. Big jump here because again the run is now much less optimized because all you need to do is just hit that skip and you're already 2 minutes ahead. So you can lose a lot of time in other areas. So the race is once again on. Let's optimize this. 12:05 by Sync Loop.
10:05.
Oh yeah, 10:05. I can do words. The next day. That stood for a while. About 3 weeks. Because this was like Sync Loop just comes out and like, hey, very strong execution on this run, very smooth. And then, but 3 months later, Optic comes in with, again, about 4 deciseconds of save this time. At least it's more than centiseconds. A world record's a world record. But we very quickly, once again, hit the ceiling of where what people are able to do, and we're pushing very small improvements. So here's the thing. The next, like a few days later, Sync Loop just shocks the community by releasing this run, the 9:59.99, 1 centisecond below sub 10.
Sub 10 is real.
Yes, sub 10 is real. And again, this was something that people didn't think would be possible to do with the current tech, but Sync Loop just goes in and executes everything just absolutely perfectly. Like you could have convinced me this run was a TAS when it first came out, and like it's just like it's amazing. So this run would stand for a very long time. Sync Loop, or sorry, not Sync Loop, Optic was gonna have to train hard to beat this. So very quickly they get to work. They're doing attempts and they're trying. Days turn into weeks turn into months. All the while he's slowly improving, slowly pushing his PB up.
He's in the hyperbolic time chamber.
Yes, getting it.
Just grinding this game.
Just starting to approach this level. About 3 months in, he finds something that is going to be very useful to him, and that is log skip. Now, if you thought some of the other skips in this were tight, just this is ridiculous. So normally you would have to run around. Normally you'd have to go over here and like basically go up this log thing. And
whenever you walk on a log, it like slows you down to a crawl. So most people just jump across them.
Here's the thing: you can skip going around there if you make this jump. And this is by far the hardest thing that's...
yeah, I lied earlier when I said card
This is
jump
by
was
far the hardest
worst.
thing in this game. Just hitting this is insanely precise. You have to hug all the way up against this curved out of bounds wall without actually touching it. You have very little room for error. You need to jump on a... there's about a 2 to 3 frame window you can jump to be able to make it across, and then you just barely make it. If you can do that, that saves a grand total of 3 seconds. Unlike long stall jump though, which by the way, the world records were using long stall jump for a while at this point. That's child's play compared to stuff like this. Unlike that though, this is only 1 minute and 20 seconds into the run. So if you're really determined, you can just grind this out until you get a run that makes it. And that's what Optic did. He had a success rate of, I want to say about like maybe 1 in 500 runs. that got past us. And for about a month, he grinded it until he was able to get this. Finally, after 4 months, the world record was broken by 4 centiseconds. Let's go. The 9:59.95. So he did a lot. Look at his attempt count here. This is 11,000 attempts. Mm-hmm.
This man is a legend.
He just went non-stop for like basically 4 months straight.
We love this man.
Yes.
He has some of the greatest pop-offs in history.
After so much work, after so much time invested, Optic had done it. He beat the impossible run with the 9:59.95. This run would probably stand for a while, right? Like that was hard to beat. This is going to be hard to beat. Maybe not. 2 days later. Oops. Uh-oh. Now, what you might be thinking upon seeing this is, oh, well, log skip saves about 3 seconds, right? He did log skip and then executed everything the same. Here's the interesting thing. This run does not use log skip. Syncloop just couldn't get log skip. He didn't want to mess with it. He just decided that he was going to take the already impossibly good execution and shave another almost 3 seconds off of it. Just get a 9:57. So that was on January 4th that this came out. And that is where the world record stands today. Optic's trying to get up here. I'm sure we'll see this go up at some point, maybe. This is a very optimized run. I'm not sure an even 9:55 is possible with the current tech. But I don't know if it's if we should call it done just yet until we find new stuff. But until then, that's where the leaderboard stands. So so we've covered just the world record attempts, just the very top level. But there's a lot more. There's a lot more stuff that goes into this. As a matter of fact, there's nearly 200 runs from 53 different players. And they each have their own stories to tell, their own battles fought at different levels on the leaderboard. In fact, the midsection has its own very interesting history for around like 3rd to 6th place.
Yeah, if you might see some recognizable names in there. You've got LittleshyFiM at 7th place and Tridashy at 5th place. They started running the game honestly around the same time, and they actually both have very well made like explanations on how the run works on their channels. So definitely go check those out.
Yep. We now have 10 runners who have entered the sub 11 club, which a feat that requires quite a bit of dedication to learn how to run this game well. So we went through a lot of this stuff very quickly. Here's a timeline to better help you visualize just what the distance between these world records looks
Each
like.
one of those white circles is when a new world record was made.
Yes.
So you can see, like, in the first week is when we made the most improvements. Those were the most hectic days I have ever experienced being a fan of any game. Because left and right, people were making huge discoveries and cutting down on this game by literally 10 minutes, which is mind-boggling.
Yes. But then as we get further and further away from each new discovery, they slow down because it gets harder and harder to execute. Here's that giant 4-month gap between the 9:59.99 and the 9:59.95. Just to, like, that's bigger. That gap is bigger than the entire rest of the history combined. Just to give you a sense of scale there.
Optic is still doing runs to this day. He has even done, is it the next slide that you have the other categories on? He's even done, so there's other categories. We covered any percent. If we wanted to cover all the categories in their history, actually it probably wouldn't take that long because any percent is what everyone cares about. If you see on the right there though, it says any percent blindfolded.
Yes.
This man, this man beats this game faster blindfolded than most people do without blindfold, which is insane.
To this day, he's the only person crazy enough to attempt that. Like,
I guarantee at some point someone else is going to attempt this, but Optic by far has played this game more than anyone else. I don't think anyone can top that time.
Yeah.
Other than Optic himself.
So,
Who told you that? Won't you believe it?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the end of the history to this day.
Yep.
What about 100.5?
100.5? Interesting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we know about that. That's a separate category, which we didn't cover.
So thank you guys so much for coming to the panel. We really appreciate it. We were gonna do some Q&A and live run, but we ended up running out of time. So thank you guys so much for coming, and we'll see you around. I've got another panel at 8:15 tonight, the Out of Remains podcast panel. Come to that if you're interested.
And hey, if you guys are looking at this, you're like, I want to get in on this, I want to try this game out. Even if you've done speedrunning before, if you haven't done speedrunning before, either way, this is a very this is a great run to check out. Head to speedrun.com. You can look up the game and you can find the link to our Discord server right there. We have a very friendly community. People will be very happy to help you navigate all this stuff, learn how to do all this. And if you've never done a run before, this is a great run to start. And if you have done a run before, maybe you have this game. It's a great way to get some more life out of the game you spent $40 on and only got 2 hours.
And if you have any questions about, you want to hear some goofy stories from this run or just anything, come talk to us, because I love talking about the experience running this game. So yeah, you guys have a good day.